This is Smooth 98.1. Love music, love life. It's a Monday morning. Welcome to Freshly Pressed and Smooth Breakfast is what you're listening to. Ayokunmi is my name. It's time to take a look at the papers, and we're starting back at one. Mr. C and AB Bozimo are joining me this morning to take a look at the stories making the rounds in the papers that have us talking, make sense of the headlines, and we're going to dive in. The news waits for no one. And that's how it is going to be this morning. It is an interactive session as always. So we're looking forward to you as well, sharing your thoughts with us and getting your opinions in. And you can do that by sending your messages in on WhatsApp on 0809 444 0981. 0809 444 0981. You can also join us on YouTube where we're streaming live at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Drop a comment there. We'll appreciate it if you do. All right. Good morning to you, Mr. C, and of course, AB. Great to have you in.
Good morning, Mr. C. Good morning, Ayo, and good morning to the marvelous listeners out there. Let's make this a marvelous Magic Monday.
Good morning, Ayo. Good morning, AB. Good morning, Lagos. Good morning, rest of the world. Let's productive.
That's right. Let's be productive. And of course, productivity is going to be the order of the day. Talking about the story coming out of the premium times, Mr. C, this is going to be where I begin with you. Former President Olusegun Obasanjo has called for the dismissal of the chairman of INEC, Mahmoud Yakubu, and officials of the commission at all levels as part of a reform of the electoral process in Nigeria. Now, he made the call in a paper he presented at the Chinua Achebe Leadership Forum at Yale University in the US. The annual lecture honors the late Nigerian writer Chinua Achebe, as the name describes. So, Mr. C, calling for electoral reforms. I mean, INEC doesn't have the most stellar reputation at this point in time. Looking at different, elections that have come and gone, there's always been controversy and issues surrounding the conduct of elections. And the president or former president is saying electoral reforms need to happen. And for that, we need to start with the dismissal of the INEC chairman and other officials of that commission.
Okay, thank you, Ayo. So let's start from the very beginning. And where is the very beginning, right? If you take the history of Nigeria, elections have always had massive controversies around them. The only election conducted in Nigeria, which Nigerians universally agreed was free and fair, was the June 12, 1993 presidential elections. And we all saw the controversy that came after that election. Every other election has been fraught with fraud, controversy, and just outright shenanigans. Now, our journey in the Fourth Republic started in 1999. And I can categorically state this morning that each iteration of INEC has gotten progressively worse. The conduct of elections have gotten progressively worse from 1999 till date. In the run-up to the 2023 general elections, we were told there were two new technological innovations, BVAS and IREF. BVAS was to cut out or get rid of the phantom voters who always pull up with no voters cards and they vote. Because the whole idea was when you present your PVC, right, they match your biometrics on site at the polling unit with what is on the register.
Right.
And then you were then accredited to vote. And BVAS was allowed to work to a certain extent in the sense that the magical figures we used to get from the Triple K states and the North stopped. A lot of the phantom voting that we used to see, for example, prior to the 2023 general elections, in Rivers State presidential elections, you always got at least 1 million votes in total. When residents in Rivers State would tell you that on election day, they didn't come out because there was violence the night before and spreading into the morning. Then you then had IREF. And for whatever reason, INEC refused to use these two items, these two technological innovations properly during last year's elections. We then had and still have instances of people who have partisan affiliations being appointed as resident electoral commissioners for states. Just recently, the president appointed 4 individuals, and he appointed Rex to some of the states, and 4 of them were discovered to have links to the ruling APC party. Now, President Obasanjo is saying, look, we're supposed to have embarked on electoral reform, and it's truly instructive. This is month 20. This administration is not saying anything about electoral reform. Are they suggesting that they want the status quo to remain? In the intervening period, Nigeria has been lucky to see two major elections conducted in two serious countries, the UK and the US of A. And in both cases, there was no military shutdown of the country. People went about their businesses on those days, and within hours, credible results had not only been collated, they had been announced. There was no dispute. Everybody could see that what was announced tallied with the wishes of the people. And even the losers considered that they truly lost. So conducting proper elections is not magic. It's not rocket science. Is there a will to do it? And then we saw some of the limitations of our system. Why can't Nigerians vote with anything that establishes their nationality? For example, the national identity number, or even your Nigerian passport. Why must you need a PVC? Because the very act of restricting it to a PVC means you will always disenfranchise a number of Nigerians who are unable to collect the PVC. So in Ondo State on Saturday, 2 million registered voters, but only 1.75 collected their PVCs. So that means 250,000 Nigerians were disenfranchised through no fault of theirs. Then why can't Nigerians vote from the comfort of their homes, their offices, wherever they are? Why? No. I'm sorry. Why aren't we ready for it? Every phone number has a BVN attached to it. Probably has a NIN attached to it. Well, yeah. Because if you have a BVN, you have a NIN. So there's technology already in place. We don't need to invent the technology to ensure that it's one vote per phone number.
I agree, but Mr. C, you also need to factor in where technology is concerned, telecoms and all that. Issues concerning, linking NIN to phone number, this and that. We know all the drama that ensued. Will it be allowed to work?
No, so we're saying two different things. I'm saying it can work, but your question is very important, is very germane. Will it be allowed to work? Because the political class in Nigeria, I will continue to maintain, is the biggest threat to Nigeria. Their interests do not align with the generality of the Nigerian people. They have completely different interests. Yes, this should work. Now, mercifully, Mr. Mahmoud's tenure comes to an end next year. He was first appointed in 2015 for a 5-year term. It was renewed in 2020. What it was renewed for from a performance perspective remains to be understood. But from another perspective, you can understand why it was renewed. Luckily, he's going next year. Unless, of course, they perform the same magic they performed with the IG or police, where they amend the Electoral Act to enable him to stay beyond a two-term tenure. Now, President Obasanjo just calls that, look, clean the whole place and bring in new people. Now, in theory, I'm tempted to agree with him. But when you clean the place, who are the people you're going to replace them with?
Still Nigerians.
Because the average Nigerian can be funny, right? He might be honest to a certain extent, but the way the system is rigged and arranged now, it will break the most honest person. Because no matter how honest you are, no matter how strong your values appear to be, once you get in, the system can break you. So the bigger question here now is, where do we want to go as a nation? We don't have strong institutions that can stand the desires of a strong leader.
Right.
Unlike the UK, the US, and other serious countries. So the bigger question here is, where are we going from here? This administration needs to start the electoral reform process, and it has to be genuine, it has to be complete, it has to be thorough. Because whether we like it or not, there's another election coming up in 2027. 2025 is literally upon us. Are we ready for that election? Nigerians in diaspora, isn't there a plan to incorporate them to vote? Must they continually be disenfranchised because they're not within Nigeria? Questions, questions, questions. Again, very few answers.
A lot of questions, as I love to say, but answers are few and far between. We're still talking electoral matters here. We're heading into the Guardian AB, and I'm bringing this to your doorstep. It's all about the Ondo State elections, where the All Progressives Congress and its candidate Lucky Aiyedatiwa have emerged victorious in the 2024 Ondo elections, winning all 18 local government areas by a wide margin against the PDP candidate Ajayi Agbola. Now, the results were collated at the headquarters of INEC in Akure, the state capital. And yes, so it has come, it has gone. A winner has been announced. There's a governor-elect that is going to, should I say, reassume office in Lucky Aiyedatiwa. And looking at the numbers in terms of the elections, like I mentioned, 18 local governments, all won by the APC. But other things are actually instructive here, AB. I mean, looking at the number of votes cast, about 508,508,963. Is it instructive on one hand to look at the fact that one party swept all the local government areas, and this is not just peculiar to Ondo State. In Ondo State, the LG elections, the APC as well. In River State, the APP won won all bar one of the LGs in River State as well. So this wave of a single party clearing or sweeping all the local government areas in elections on one hand, and then looking at the number of people who actually, came out to cast their vote. Isn't that also something to look at?
Ordinarily, when you read me this headline, APC wins all 18 LGs, the real analysis for this story is the word okay. I'm going to the next story. But since we want to discuss, let's come from the earlier story we discussed. The title of President Obasanjo's speech was Leadership Failure and State Capture in Nigeria. And as part of his speech, he said that INEC willfully chose not to use technology that they had touted. Set aside whoever the current INEC chairman is, Mahmood, the fact that INEC created a social expectation and contract with the people and chose not to do it is what makes literally every election since then, in my view, neither here nor there. As I speak, the vote I cast in 2023 has not been uploaded to IREV because I check my portal. If that's the case, we are putting more fluff on top of nothing. So the governor-elect has been declared. Welcome to him, well done to them. I just want to say, in a situation where the country has gotten worse under this same party, it is interesting, if not incongruous, that the party that is leading us down this merry path is the party that's apparently winning everything. But we have come to the time for the break, and there's really not much to say. Welcome to Governor Aiyedatiwa. Congratulations to him and the APC. Not much more should be said.
Okay, so let me quickly jump in on this, right? So first of all, again, we're witnessing low turnout of voters and increased voter apathy. So we have 508,000 people coming out to vote out of 2 million registered voters. That is 25.44%, which is even lower than the average that we saw at the last presidential election, which was about 27.15%. What does that say about INEC? The resounding message to INEC is we have no faith, we have no trust in the electoral processes you're conducting, and therefore we won't waste our time coming out to pretend or to go through the facade that you're presenting. And again, goes back to the previous question, to previous topic I took. For proper reforms, INEC should be the one telling the court whether the elections were properly conducted or not, not the person who is declared the winner. And until this happens, we will continue to witness these shoddy and disorganized and chaotic electoral elections that INEC pretends to conduct and organize.
All right, on that note, let's take a quick break when we come back in. We'll be talking about the Borough and, of course, security matters. Keep it tuned. Smooth 98.1, Smooth Breakfast, freshly pressed.
98.1.
It's, I mean, whatever they call elections, we have so far got to accept, because as long as they refuse to use the tools right, I mean, MBA did it first, this electronic voting. My institute has been doing it now. NMA did it. The electronic voting is it is so easy to do now. The fact that I can take my ATM card anywhere in the world, put it in and access my account means that we can vote through machines like ATM, but we choose not to. So all this one we're talking vote. Now we sabi.
We choose.
Choose. That's the word. Choose. It's not that it's inevitable. It's a choice.
Welcome back to Freshly Pressed on the Smooth Breakfast on Smooth 98.1. It's a Monday morning, and we're having great conversations, taking a look at the stories in the papers, and of course, getting analysis as well. Mr. C and AB are still with me, doing justice to those stories, and we are looking forward to you sharing your thoughts about the stories with us as well. So you can do that by sending your messages in to us. We're looking forward to reading them. 0809 444 0981. 0809 444 0981. You can also join us on YouTube at Smooth 981 FM Lagos. Smooth 981 FM Lagos. There's a comment here from Top Baker that says we really need to reform our electoral system. If not, we will keep getting the worst of us leading the rest of us. Let me sneak one or two messages in here. Benga from Isola says, it's not a new wave. Fire sure PDP won in all 16 LGs against the incumbent Fayemi of APC in 2015, Ekiti Guberpo. We shouldn't be promoting all these conspiracy theories. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's a fact that they have actually won. The question is it healthy for our electoral process on one hand? And of course, is it healthy to have a situation where one party is sweeping everything? Is it normal in any case? Is the question you should also ask. I don't know. You tell me. Was talking to us here. Tinu says, honestly, nothing to be said. Low turnout because we know it will be a selection of cabal and their cronies. Nigerians have lost faith, I beg. And Adegboye Gadidiji says, I think at this juncture, Nigeria needs a strategic thinker, a planner, not a junketing president that is ready at every point in time to jump on any available flight to attend unnecessary foreign trips, begging for funds, really. Whereas if you look inward, will he solve the nation's problem? If you look inward, he will solve the nation's problem, but chooses to embark on a fruitless and frivolous journey that has no significant impact on the nation. All right, Mr. C, let's talk security matters here. And Lukarawa is once again in the news as a terror group has been said to set up camps in 10 local government areas of Sokoto and Bauchi states before its operations became known to the public 3 weeks ago. That's according to a report made by the Sunday Punch. Now, according to sources, members of the terror group initially established camps in some villages bordering Nigeria and Niger Republic, including Guanaguano, Mulawa, Wasinya, and Turigai communities. I mean, this is just coming out now that they had set up camps in 10 local government areas within Sokoto and Bauchi before this news actually became public, worrying in itself. But once again, okay, we've heard that this is the situation. Where are we going from here?
Okay, thank you, Ayu. That's a very interesting question. Where are we going from here? Because from the account of the local natives and residents, they've been firmly established for about 6 years, and there have been about 10 local governments spread across Sokoto, Bauchi, Kebbi. Now, the number between 1,000 to 1,500, and we understand that they move from place to place on motorbikes. And this is contrary to what the national coordinator of the National Counterterrorism Center told us. The national coordinator told us that there were about 150 to 200 people, and that in no short time they will be quickly sorted out. Now it shows that even the National Counterterrorism Center doesn't really know what it's up against. Now we also hear from the local residents that these terrorists use drones. If you've ever needed evidence that Nigerian security agencies do not talk to themselves, this is a clear example. Between customs, between immigration, between the NSCDC, between the police, how do you not know about the existence of these people, including the army? Because anytime you have an opportunity to travel across Nigeria's highways, on certain stretches of the expressway or the highways, you will see ridiculous checkpoints mounted.
Mm.
And from one checkpoint, you can see the next one. You can literally see it. And I'm pretty certain that if you shout from one checkpoint, they will hear clearly what you're saying at the next checkpoint. Now, these people have been in situ, and they're offering the residents, they're offering them money to join them, and they seem to be well equipped, well resourced. Now, what is our plan? Because we hear they're from Mali and that their founder was originally Nigerian, but his brothers live in Mali. Now, have we identified what they want? Do we have informants within the group who can help our security agencies help break them? Big question. I don't have the answer. Now, will they grow to become the menace that Boko Haram and ISWAP have grown? Honestly, I would wish they don't get to that point. But there's nothing the security agencies are doing now that will convince the average Nigerian that they actually understand the threats before them and that they have a cohesive, coherent plan to deal with these people.
Mr. C, it's also important to note that according to sources that that spoke about this, a researcher with the Usman Danfodi University in Sokoto, Dr. Murtala Rufai, also told the Punch that the group had been planning to establish a caliphate for over 25 years. That's a long time to put things in place and get things together. So it then begs the question: those who are supposed to be keeping an eye on these things, what exactly have they been doing?
Again, it shows that this is even a clear example that the security agencies haven't done everything they're supposed to do. Now, we cannot rule out the fact that terror groups like the Lukarawas, like ISWAP, like the Islamic Caliphate, have sympathizers within Nigeria's security architecture. You simply cannot rule it out. Remember, a former president, President Jonathan, did say that, look, there were Boko Haram members in government. You simply cannot rule it out. And when you think about the fact that we haven't really addressed it, we say we're fighting a war against terror, right? Yet we can't really feel that there's any seriousness. Contrast that with Israel, another nation of human beings with one brain each that is also fighting a war against terror. And each day they're delivering results. They're identifying the people they're going after and they're taking them out. But here we say we're fighting a war on terror, then there'll be secret negotiations, people will be released. Again, the root cause is poor governance, terrible economic situations, conditions. Until we fix the rot at local government level and state level, and I dare say even the central level, you will find more of these groups popping up, and they're using religion as a cover. They just want political power. They want economic power. Right. And when the recognized state actors are delinquents and will not carry out their duties, non-state actors will step into the void, perform those duties, and get the loyalty of the people. And again, it shows the trust deficit that continues to exist between the people, the government, and the security agencies. I don't know when this is going to stop because really from my end, it's getting tiring, it's getting exhausting, talking about the same thing morning after morning. But hey, we're where we are, c'est la vie.
C'est la vie. We can only work with the hand that we are actually dealt. That's where we are. All right, AB, let's talk about President Tinubu and of course Narendra Modi, who was in the country over the weekend, taking the story out of Vanguard.
Let's talk about national debt. Those stories about visits to and from Nigeria.
Right.
the average Nigerian.
Right, right, right. Apologies for that because time is actually. I thought I could squeeze both stories in. Let's take this out of Daily Post, and of course, this is very, very important that we discuss. There are indications of a looming debt crisis as Nigeria's external debt may rise to $45.1 billion by the end of 2024, with the federal government planning to secure additional external funding. Now, this follows a report from the Debt Management Office, that's the DMO, which revealed that the country's external debt stock increased by $780 million in the second quarter of 2024, growing from $42.12 billion in March to $42.9 billion by June of 2024. The numbers just keep on rising and rising.
So you see the headline that says there's an external debt crisis. It's very easy to just be seduced by that and not go back to the cause. Nigeria is not the country in the world that owes the most. So on the face of it, this should not be the case. There are actually three crises that lead to this. There's a leadership deficit crisis. There is a priorities misplaced crisis, and there's a mendacity crisis in governance circles. And let me break them down. Leadership that exists solely for its own narrow pleasures without considering any form of a social contract with the people is a leadership in crisis, a leadership that doesn't know why it exists. In terms of priorities, we have prioritized all the wrong things. We prioritize things like private jets for a president and a possible one for a vice president because of the hole in a windscreen that surely could be replaced alone. Leave that aside. We prioritize all sorts of perks for those in office, including those who promise citizens that they can spirit them away and nobody will know. And they come out with a statement and it all is well. We prioritize foreign trips and putting what's that thing, Grand Commander of the Order of the Niger on the visiting Indian premier. How does that change the price of rice for me as an ordinary Nigerian? It does not. It is irrelevant to the average Nigerian. The partnership between India and Nigeria is valuable. I'm not talking about the partnership. I'm talking about the ceremony, pointless ceremonies. And last, mendacity. We hear too many government officials talking about, oh, we're producing this in terms of oil. And the official people say, no, your numbers are wrong. That is mendacity, also known as lies. We appear to have government people who are too happy to lie to the people and forget that there are many other sources by which information can be corroborated or controverted. So we have debts piled on. One of the best things about this story is that fortunately, all the numbers are being talked about in dollars because there's this very good temptation when, for instance, recently, Mr. T. Gaines, the National Security Advisor, talked about how the customs has got so much money. But when you benchmark it against the dollar, you find that the current economy has contracted by over 40%. And I know the time. What I'm saying is that clearly these numbers are going up, but it is not affecting the ordinary Nigerian. So the question is, what are they prioritizing when they are borrowing upon borrowing upon borrowing? I aver it is not the good of the average Nigerian. And therefore,
Right.
they are piling debts on people currently and future generations to no end. I'm sorry. This is utter mismanagement and lack of leadership capacity that we're observing. I didn't stutter.
Okay, so let me quickly jump into this, right? So the president received, in addition to everything going on, he's out again. He left Nigeria again
For
yesterday.
Brazil, for the
Brazil.
G20 summit.
He just and the Indian president came in on Sunday. Now he's off again to Brazil for the G20 summit.
Do you think he was on the same flight? Because he's also
No, no, no. Good question. Now, again, many trips. We're not seeing the results. We're not seeing the fruits. Yet they keep telling us, oh, the fruits are here. There's light at the end of the tunnel. And for supporters, if you know anything they've achieved, send us a comment, please. Because it's getting time. All these trips, imagine a bank marketer who is given official resources to go out and look for business. And at the end of 3 months, 6 months, no business. Do you think you'll have a job?
Hmm. Ayo from Festac says, I've learned new English today. Mendacity. We learn every day, don't we? Patrick says, all our security agencies know how to do are harass and terrorize civilians. Patrick from Okota in Lagos. Dimapuza says, the more sufferings and hardships the APC government gives to Nigerians, the more Nigerians love and vote for them. What an irony. Fela said it was the government, Fela said it was government magic. Fabian from Ekwe says, it's high time President Tinubu stops traveling around the country and sits down to face the affairs that we're dealing with. Everything is fast deteriorating, but he appears to have AirPods or earplugs on. Food, shelter, clothing, transport, and security are what most of us only want. Is that too much to ask for? Tony from Marine Beach says, the revelation that about 80 million Americans voted seamlessly from diaspora before the election day completely rubbishes all the excuses by our election organizers and all the complexities around our voting process. A simple proof that these set of politicians are hell-bent on holding the masses by their clutches and will never let them go. However, they must remember that there's an end to everything. And I hope this particular one ends well. Tony from Ikeja says the current INEC and Mahmoud are the gas that fires the spirit of the president. Both the former and latter are divisive, corrupt, myopic, and retrogressive. Let Nigerians continue to bear with the unbearable while the tax collector drives them to the ICU. All right, we need to call it a morning on Freshly Pressed. Thank you for sharing your messages both on WhatsApp and on YouTube as well. Thank you so much, AB and Mr. C, for joining me as always on a Monday morning.
Thank you, Ayo. Thank you, Smooth. And thank you to all of the wonderful listeners out there. Let's keep our hopes up because this is not how a country should be run.
Okay, thank you for having me. And Nigerians, remember that this is not the end. Nigeria will be better in spite of the circus that is in town. Just keep your heads up, keep focused on what you're doing, and we'll be fine at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, we'll definitely
Amen.
be fine. Thank you so much. And thank you for once again being a part of the show. Keep it tuned to the Smooth Breakfast. We'll get talking about sports in the locker room at 8:15. Looking forward to that. Freshly pressed on Smooth 98.1.
My brother.